Hello, I'm Simon Chadwick, and I'm pleased to present our work, Radar as a Teacher, Weekly Supervised Vehicle Detection using Radar Labels. In this work, we propose a method for training a convolutional neural network-based object detector using labels derived from radar. By using an innovative training process, we achieve considerably higher performance than if we use the radar labels with a standard training process. The motivation for this work comes from the fact that, for object detection, we know that if we use labeled datasets, we can achieve good performance on those datasets. But what if we have our own data for which we do not have labels? For example, we may have collected our own data, possibly at night. How can we train a detector on this dataset while minimizing the amount of labeling effort that we need to expend? Our idea is to use an additional sensing modality to provide the labels. We choose to use radar as the labeler. As the labels we obtain are noisy, we use an innovative training process that involves relabeling the data to produce cleaner labels. This process gives much improved performance over using the original labels with minimal labeling effort. You may be wondering why radar. Well, this is some example data collected from our forward-facing cruise control radar. On the left, we can see the raw data collected from a vehicle moving along a road. The ego vehicle is the red dot at the bottom, with each radar target represented by a blue dot, with a green line representing its radial velocity either towards or away from the radar. On the right, we have the same data, but with the ego motion of the vehicle subtracted. It is now quite straightforward to identify other vehicles that are moving nearby. These are the targets that still have a green radial velocity vector after the ego motion has been subtracted. Using this observation, we wondered whether it was possible to use that data for successful labeling. If we simply propose a fixed rectangle, scaled by range, around each of those radar targets, we achieve labels such as those shown in this video, which is surprisingly good given the limited effort required. However, the labels have limitations. They only include moving vehicles, there are many missing labels, and occasional additional labels, particularly when the ego motion estimate is poor. The question is, if we can get labels of this standard so easily, how good can the detector be if we use these labels? The first tool in our toolbox is a process called co-teaching that was introduced by Han et al. At NeurIPS in 2018. The aim of the process is to identify those labels that are noisy by examining the differences in loss values as training progresses. It relies on the observation that simple patterns are learned more quickly during network training, and hence examples with clean labels, which are more likely to correspond to simple patterns than noisy labels, will more quickly achieve low loss values. The process works as follows. Take a batch of images with noisy labels. Feed the same batch through identical networks with separate randomly initialized weights. Select the subset of images with the lowest loss values. The indices of the lowest loss images are passed to the partner network, and the weights are updated using only the examples suggested by the other network. As training progresses, the size of the subset used to perform updates is reduced. Initially, when no training has taken place, the full batch is used. Over time, this is reduced until the number of examples being excluded corresponds to the expected proportion of noisy labels. We use an adaptation of this framework targeted at object detection that we proposed in our previous work. We will now introduce our full training process. As discussed earlier, we first create our labels from the radar scans by proposing fixed size rectangles around each moving radar target. Then, using the co-teaching process, we train our network. We then take inspiration from another previous work to exploit a second zoom camera to give improved labels. We use our trained model to produce predictions for the entire training set of both the original wide-angle images and the zoom images. These labels are then combined to give a single label set. It can be seen in the example images that the final label set is more accurate than the original. Finally, we train a new model, again using co-teaching. To analyse the effect of these different stages, we carried out an ablation study. As you can see, the standard training process without co-teaching or relabeling is shown in the top row. It can be seen that each additional process increases the final performance. The Both Zoom Models column makes use of the two different networks produced by co-teaching to relabel the Zoom images. The final detection results are considerably higher than can be achieved using only the original radar labels and the standard CNN training process. We also experimented with using a network that was pre-trained on the Kitty dataset. Again, it can be seen that our training process provides improved performance. This video shows detections on the test set. It can be seen that the performance is still low compared to what might be achieved with a full manually labelled dataset. However, there are very few false positives. In summary, we have presented a method for training a vehicle detector with minimal labelling effort. We use additional sensing modalities during data collection to provide the labels. By using an innovative training pipeline, our final performance is considerably higher than would otherwise be the case. Thank you for watching.